I did all right. Your cappuccino looks capping.
It does.
Well, I don't know what I was doing there, but I was probably trying to make two different things. I've got like a tulip and a ghost.
A tulip and a ghost. Well, it's not bad if it's one of your first attempts. So. Very
It's
cool.
not bad. I mean, even when we were starting how to do coffee stuff, I was so bad, it was just a blob. And then now,
It's a decorative blob.
It's a better looking blob with milk.
Well, I can appreciate the honesty, so. Why are we here?
Oh man, you want the short story or the long story?
Well, let's just get into it and see where it goes.
Yeah, it's been 5 years since this thing called COVID took over the world. And before I even met you, my business partner Will and I, we bought commercial real estate because I thought going into 2020, I was turning 30. I was like, if I don't do something big with my life, I'm not going to do anything. Like I had this gut feeling. Mm-hmm. So going into 2021, ended up buying a building, a 20,000 square foot light industrial warehouse with 9 units in it. Subdivided it, fixed the roof, made it look pretty, flipped it. And then come 2023, I bought this place with Will called Van Lock, which is a sandwich shop. And beside it was...
A couple blocks that way.
Literally in Chinatown. And that's where I met around you. And what I mean by that is I met Alec, who was one of the owners of Compound Cut Club, got my hair cut there. And then eventually, I wasn't in the same area as you were, but you did have a food tour in Chinatown.
It's true. You were doing a lot of that.
And I didn't meet you there. I didn't meet you.
No, you didn't. But a lot of other people did.
And then fast forward, Alec moving his location from the north side in Chinatown to the south side by Gateway. That's when I finally met you.
At Drive-In Barbershop, yeah.
At Drive-In. Started talking about real estate. You're like, hey, that's kind of cool. You're already doing real estate. Had coffee with you on the West End, and then never looked back. One thing led to another. Van Lock was self-sustaining itself after our revitalization project of taking over the sandwich shop, and then 2 years later, we've opened up this space, which is Bow and Air.
You got some pretty good coffee. I will admit, your business partner is kind of a coffee nut. He knows more about coffee than I do, and I'm Italian, so yeah. What you guys have created here, that is one hell of a cappuccino.
I'm learning how to make the art. Cheers. Cheers to that.
Yeah, I definitely work on the artwork on top, but I think he's nailed the art of a cup of coffee.
You could make the swans and stuff now. Mm-hmm. I could just make a heart or a tulip, which, you know what? It's better than what 99.9% of people would do. So it's being the 1%. To be able to make latte art is crazy. It's just sometimes you just have to take action and practice and practice and practice when nobody's watching.
You mean nothing happens instantly?
Nothing happens.
See, it's funny how everything ties back to what we tried to teach people, which was an effort over time is what yields bigger results. You know, we're not in to win the lottery. We're not in. I mean, everybody would love to be wealthy overnight. Yeah. But no one's willing to put in the time, so they don't receive it quick enough for them to stick with it.
I think it's like a belief system too. Like one of the things that I like talking about and just sharing with people is like, there's opportunity around us every single day. You just need to have the skills to turn it into what you would call it now, a possibility. Because if you can't recognize that, then it's fleeting. It'll always pass you every single day. So being able to get the skills to recognize that opportunity and then execute on that possibility allows you to move the needle forward a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more.
The difference between the word opportunity and possibility I've really tried to, or we as a group have really tried to impart on the younger generation of entrepreneurs. I want to hear your version of what you think you've heard from us defining the difference between opportunity and possibility, because I think that's where most people don't even use the right vocabulary. And without the right vocabulary, if you do not grow your vocabulary into a more progressive dialogue, sitting at those tables is irrelevant if you don't understand exactly why you use specific words. So again, opportunity, possibility, go.
When I was thinking about opportunity, everyone can present an idea, and that's an opportunity.
To be involved in or to pursue, yes.
The possibility is once you are involved, it's understanding that there are people there that are already doing the things that you want to do, And it's not impossible, it is possible because there's a roadmap of success, being able to do the things that that person's doing. Like, for example, you're doing a lot of work that is in international real estate and domestic real estate. That's not an opportunity for me. That's a possibility as I continue to contribute into the group, into my personal skill set. It's just recognizing it's not an opportunity anymore. It's actually something that is possible. It takes time to build, but I can do it, and we can do it, and a team can do it together. So that's my understanding of my version of what possibility means, is that it's not just the opportunity that here's a piece of paper with numbers on it, go do something. It's like, how do we get there? Who
It's
do
the
I want to be?
understanding of the process. Opportunity is just, like you said, an idea or something that you could be involved in, but you wouldn't be able to be involved in it without that particular opportunity.
Yeah.
Once you learn the intricacies, the ins and outs, the subtle nuances of whether it's development, a process, an investment, once you understand it, it's possible to duplicate it. Now it's a possibility in your life. You have all the tools, all the knowledge, you have the right dialogue, both physically and mentally, to create.
Yeah.
That's what possibility is. This is why I don't like the word opportunity. Opportunity sounds like MLM.
Yeah.
Oh, get in now while it's early and you'll blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. No, if you understand what's going on, you can do it as well. Now it's possible. So I think that's the most basic of fundamentals when it becomes time to start a business.
Yep.
Decide if you're an entrepreneur, invest in anything, learn about investing. Is it because everything's an opportunity, but if you do not understand it, you never turn it into a possibility.
Yeah. It's, this Chinatown thing is both opportunistic for us because we saw that there was a need and a demand for the revitalization of this area. At the same time, you have to think it's going to be possible. There's restaurants all over Chinatown, some more tired than others, but being able to add that youthful vibrancy back into an area is what's really interesting, because you can mix real hard data with a vision to change this area. So how do you go from point A to point A? How do you actually say, oh, this is an opportunity? Of course it's an opportunity. There's buildings everywhere, there's land everywhere that you can buy. But
there's air to breathe while you're here, so you can get involved.
you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But if you don't take action on it, it doesn't matter. Like, sure, it's an opportunity, but if you don't take action on it, it doesn't matter. Like, it does not matter.
And I think that's where so many people are so quick to criticize or give their opinion on what should be done, but a bunch of opinions about someone should really do this, someone should really do that. It's about time that change happened here.
Yeah.
Whereas there's a 1% of people over here that say this, they recognize that something needs to be done, and they're going to figure out how to make it happen. Not from the persuasion or coercion of this side guilting them. It's because the fundamental belief that if something needs to happen, you have to go out and do it. And you find like-minded people to do that with, and you create a plan, you formulate a dialogue between people, and you execute the plan. You don't complain about what's not there. You create what you want there. And what you guys are doing is amazing. I know you've run into some roadblocks. We'll just say a few.
That's normal.
On every level. Yes, on every. You're being much more diplomatic than most people would.
Those challenges.
It is many challenges. Yeah, both foreseeable and unforeseeable. These variables are a little more than people would understand. The average employee does not understand starting a business, even getting a business permit, doing a build out for a business. What it takes to get there would cripple 90% of most people who think that their day is difficult.
Yeah.
Just going to work that an employer has already built out.
Yeah. The one thing that you brought up too, the word should. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's really frustrating when people tell you what you should do when they've never done it before. And I think this is my own narrative, and from my experience is that when people tell you you should do this, you should do that, I actually take a look at their performance. I take a look at their validators, the ability for them, have they done it before? Is it something that I respect? Is it something that I look up to? Is it something that inspires and motivates me? Because if it's just someone that tells you what you should do, then you can shoulda, woulda, coulda anything. And that doesn't make sense, because if you're building something that has never been done here today, you can shoulda, woulda, coulda anything. But it takes a tremendous amount of risk and skill and team and belief to make that thing happen. So why would you listen to someone who can should you into oblivion? You should do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should do that. You should shut the fuck up. How about
Absolutely. I completely agree. People from the outside always have the biggest opinions.
Yeah.
The people who want to see you succeed are there to help you see. They understand what it takes, so they'll be there to walk you through it. They don't just tell you at a distance what you woulda, coulda, shoulda done.
Yeah.
All that stuff is irrelevant. People need, like you said, quantifiers before giving advice. The problem with the ability to say whatever you want is people think their opinions matter.
Mm-hmm.
And while everyone has the right to freedom of speech, what they say, if it has no basis from previous history, previous performance, like you said, what type of outcomes do you have in your life that you're in a superior position to give solid advice like what you're saying is quantifiable results?
Yeah.
Because nobody that's going to say that to you is going to then say, well, if you listen to me, you'll guaranteed succeed. You'll guaranteed be profitable. You're guaranteed to quarter over quarter grow your business or your product or your service or your idea. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's why those people in business have no relevance to you. If you listen to those people,
I would have been out of business already.
oh yeah. The first time you had a delay in permitting, passing an inspection, the inspection qualifications changing in between inspectors and such.
Yep.
Yeah, I get it. It's difficult in business, and the public typically doesn't even know what goes into starting a business for them to critique once it's open.
I enjoy the holistic approach to business, more of the inspirational side. I know you have your thoughts and like perspective on the word inspiration, but I really do enjoy that level of belief, not only in myself, but being able to share and showcase what is possible. So the one thing that you brought up as well is the challenges, right? We've had a tremendous amount of permitting failures, delays in construction, and oh gosh, kicking the can down the road financially too sucks. However, you need to have a level of delusion to believe that you're gonna make it. Because if you believe the news or the reality of what's happening right now, then you should have just stopped.
All
We should have
signs
just stopped.
point to failure.
We should have just stopped. Why are we doing this? At the same time, if you have the perfect amount of delusion, or somewhat the perfect amount of delusion, you can look at the
Your own
data.
personal hype train.
Yep. You have to get up, be motivated, and go to work.
You can't be average.
And you don't know what you're gonna do that day, but you wake up and you're like, I'm just gonna do.
Whatever hits me, I'm going to attack it. Yeah.
You have to. No one's gonna hold a gun to your head and tell you to work more. You have to do it because you have to do it.
Yeah,
So-
results are quite variant on the actually. I like the word when you say delusion, just because it's required to. If you just look at the negatives, like when producer Mac built that whole seminar on starting a business, and nowhere in what he said did it sound fun to start a business. He did a 2-hour seminar on what could go wrong in business.
Yep.
And the whole point behind that was not to deter people from doing business. It was strictly to say, do you have an answer for all of these variables? Are you willing to fight each one of these just for one win?
Yep. And
All
even
of
if you
this,
don't,
and even if you don't, are
you
still
better
going-
have
yeah.
the belief and conviction that it's going to work. Because if you don't have that belief or conviction, don't even do it. Don't
Yeah.
even start.
Because
have to.
the idea that the general public has that you just open a business, write everything off, and you're a millionaire in the first 6 months.
Who pays for it? Who writes it
Yeah,
off?
where does it get there? I think everybody should be forced to be an entrepreneur just once. That is something that I think would actually be funding approved in my mind. Like, I don't think a lot of things should be funded because then people get lazy with results. But I do actually believe that there should be the opportunity for people to receive the education on how to start a business and say a $10,000 grant to start a business. Just so people,
Yeah.
and the average rate, so I think in Canada, we won't specifically go with our city, but the average rate of failure for a small business is almost 40% in the first year.
Crazy.
That goes up to about 56, 57% on average in the first 18 months. Less than 30% of businesses are there 36 months, 3 years after starting. But they all had a great product, service, or idea.
Mm-hmm.
Why did some make it and others didn't? I think a lot of it is just not understanding. Just because it worked as a food truck doesn't mean it's going to work as a brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you were a phenomenal employee at your place of employment does not mean you know how to run a company. This is where I think social media has ruined a lot of the labor force and the workforce, is they've tried to convince people, because it's easy for me to get you to follow my page if I tell you that your employer's treating you poorly, it's unfair working conditions because they don't give you a 20-hour work week, 120 grand a year, and 2 months worth of paid vacation. Yeah. And of course, millions of people are going to like, follow, subscribe, share that type of content, and then the new truth is that you're abused as an employer.
Yeah.
The employer has to keep the lights on. And
self-preservation, man.
It's just a fundamental difference between running a business and understanding what goes into it, or just having an employee mindset. And I think that's where we're trying, instead of creating content that just makes people angry, whether it's politically, financially, economically, whatever it is that social media uses to get viewership, with this conflict between two sides, we're never going to do that. We want to propose both sides so people can understand perspective. The one thing that the society nowadays in progressive world doesn't want to do is have that dialogue. Two people can't sit across a table with differing opinions and discuss it until there's a common thought process.
Yeah.
This side of the table just wants you to hear what they need to hear and are determined to prove they just want you to agree with them that they're right. And the other side wants to do the same thing. So there was no listening, there was just talking. And this divisiveness is what results in the society we have now, where there's this huge separation in community.
Yeah.
Because everybody's fighting everyone else. And then we've got guys like you, Will, your business partner, trying to bring the community back together, and you're being fought on so many different fronts that it's admirable that you're doing it, but I can see how it gets exhausting.
It's a very interesting thesis that I have, that people stopped talking to each other because we all went online. Everyone started using IG, or they use OF, or they use TikTok, or they use Snap, and I think it's starting to come full circle where the government's like, okay, everyone needs to go back to downtown. Everyone has to go back into the office, because if you don't, I can't peek my head over the cubicle and be like, hey Chris, can you just help me out with this one quick problem? It takes 4 seconds. But then if everyone's working from home, I have to email you, but you're doing your laundry, I'm jerking off in the bathroom. It's like, oh wait, let me figure this out for you. And it's like, what could have took 4 seconds is taking 4 days. And it just makes everyone, I'm not gonna say lazy, but disconnected. And this whole turn, this whole loop is starting to come back full circle, because if you know how to talk to people, you know how to get things done. If you know how to have more compassion and empathy, you have to talk to somebody, especially your staff or your employees or your colleagues per se.
Look at the anxiety level of one-on-one conversations now. People consider that overwhelming, is the word they use. Communicating in a society is now considered overwhelming. And it's interesting you brought up the work from home thing, because it's one of those things that I've always had an issue with. They based the idea of work from home off a study done in the late 90s and early 2000s, where upper management, board of directors, CEOs got the opportunity to work remotely at home because their value to the company was so high. Losing an hour in traffic each way was actually detrimental. Mm-hmm. So what they did was, the study was done on senior management and CEO level. And they found that those people not having to go into a place of work yielded even better results for people of that caliber, we'll call it. The people that were already dedicated enough to ascend to a level like that, when given a chance to work from home, were even more productive. That's how you skew data. See, people are more productive if they work from home. They should let everybody work from home. But the average person is just an average employee because of their mindset. When they don't have a supervisor, They were supposed to start work at 9. The alarm went off at 8:30. They finally rolled out of bed at 9:15, went to make a coffee. The original data from over 20 years ago was that those upper level people were getting like 117% productivity as opposed to going into the office. Where we're sitting right now, just in the last 8 years, the average employee is over 40% less productive getting work from home. This is why businesses are actually shutting down. A lot are run very poorly, but you're getting less efficiency per employee, which means you either have to lay people off, which is the greedy corporation, or hire more people to underperform, resulting in not being able to pay them as much. Everyone looks from the outside, going back to why they don't, people that don't understand running a business, and they say, look, they're just not paying people what they deserve. When the reality is, let's say 20 years ago, someone was getting $25 an hour to do this job. They did this job in a 40-hour work week. Now, because of social media saying you should get more time off, you should have mental health breaks, you should have all these things that result in you doing less work, but you want the same amount of pay.
Yeah.
So they're saying that 20 years, 25 years down the road, costs have gone up in the world, but they're not paying in relation to how the costs have gone up. But the reality is you now need 1.8 employees 25 years later to do what the one employee was doing back in the year 2000. So they're actually paying for the results at market rate, but we need 1.8. So let's say this $25,000 should be a $50,000 a year job now. Well, that 50,000 is actually needs to be split between 1.8 people to get the same result as back here. This is the math that people don't talk about. No one's getting underpaid. They're just not performing like 25 years ago. And when you bring up a topic like that, then they say, oh, back then people were abused, unfair working conditions, all that kind of stuff, as though it's 1890. Because we've just been programmed by social media to attack. And anytime someone uses rational mathematics and actual data, not skewed data, then they start calling you names or attacking you that like there's some miraculous entity out there that's holding people back, and it's not. Math is math. If a company does not make money,
everyone fails.
Everyone fails.
Yeah, no one gets
like
a job.
Not every business can be run like Canada Post.
Yeah.
Where you're losing $680 million a year.
Crazy.
And people want raises.
Yeah, the math doesn't math.
The math doesn't math. So why do we keep promoting this? Because that's actually what brings down the level of society. It has nothing to do with which government's in power. It has nothing. And even look at voting. We seem to have a problem with no matter who's in government. But the reality is, government is elected by the people. So when people say, "Oh, they're up there. They're more like celebrities. They get up there and they lie. They're so sensationalized." The only reason we have those type of politicians running for office is because the voter dictates who they want to see. So the candidates have actually evolved to be exactly what people want. People don't like the way that they say that they don't. Why won't they just do the job that they're voted for? But you didn't vote them to do a job. You voted because this one said this negative thing about the other party, and this one said something that you liked about this other party. So you're voting on like a popularity contest. There's never going to be a politician elected who comes and says boring math and says, all right, we're in debt. This is what we need to do. Mathematically, this is how long it's going to take. These are the cuts we need to make. These are the boring numbers behind all of it. Vote for me. Mm-hmm. That person will be at the bottom of the ballot. No, because there's nothing sensationalized about the mathematics behind a country. Because the mathematics behind a country is just like the mathematics behind a company. It has to be a P&L, profit and loss. And no one wants to vote for an accountant. They want to vote for someone who waves their hands, throws mud at the other, you know what I mean? Like turns it into a reality drama series. The people running for office are the evolution of what the people voting want to see. That's the reality behind most of the problems in society. Is in progressive society, this democracy, you're getting exactly what you want The average person just doesn't want the repercussions of what comes from poor decisions. And that's a whole other thing we could discuss for hours.
Oh, 100%. I mean, pragmatically, when I think about what you just shared, it makes sense. What ends up happening is those that actually want to contribute to society, they take on all the burden and risk, but then they get taken advantage of by either the people that just are trying to look for a paycheck and they put in poor quality, they put in poor service, and then they wonder why they're not getting paid more, or they wonder why the business fails. Like, the whole dynamic of the math has to math. Like, there's risk involved with the math, which is fine. That's entrepreneurship. But when it comes to people contributing, whether it's to a business, to a city, to a province, or a country, high quality products and services attract high quality skills and talent back into any organization, any community, any city. Because if we're looking for talent acquisition and talent retention, you need to have competent people.
Yeah.
And if the math isn't mathing and people are throwing mud at each other, then what product or service do you actually have? Because you can cut corners if everyone's trying to chase money, right? Well, I can just buy it off Temu. I could just, instead of buying it from the factory direct of high quality product or whatever that is. And then people wonder, oh, why is the thing I bought so shitty? It's because you're cutting corners.
Yeah, the customer want it as cheap as possible. They want the highest quality as cheap as possible, and that runs the quality companies out of business. So those companies either have to adapt and give product only to the 1% wealthy
That can afford it, yep.
that can afford it so they can maintain their quality,
Yep.
or they're going to have to fold their company.